There you are.
Hello everyone, I'm Dr. Skomer, chiropractor. This is my colleague Dr. Gherkin.
Dr. Gherkin.
Who is also a chiropractor, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And what else are you?
Well, functional medicine practitioner.
Oh, fancy pants.
Oh, yeah. Lifelong learning, Dr. Skoma.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. That's what happens when you're retired.
Yes, you can
Goof off.
goof off.
So we're here because we want to talk about toxic chemicals and its effect on mental decline. Now you've got some interesting information. Tell them about our website.
Taming Your Flame. It's a 5-class self-assessment program.
Yep, educational program.
We talk a lot about mitigating, minimizing what? Chronic inflammation. Why? Chronic inflammation leads to chronic disease. Chronic disease are things you don't want. One of the things, Alzheimer's, mental decline. So chronic inflammation is key. We talk a ton about diet, stress, food, microbes, both in and out, and toxins. Today we're going to perhaps dive a little deeper into the toxic chemical side of things.
Mm-hmm. So, unfortunately, we live in a world that is constantly exposing us to chemicals, toxic chemicals. And these result in cancer, autoimmune diseases, chronic inflammation, which led you and I into this topic.
Diabetes, obesity.
Yeah. And the other big one is mental decline.
Mental decline is something that is clearly on the radar. Why? There's no good medical treatment for Alzheimer's. Zero. So, well, having said that, I'm now reading the research from Dale Bredesen. You should all get this book if you're listening. Bredesen, B-R-E-D-E-S-O-N, Bredesen. The End of Alzheimer's. Not just the prevention, but the reversal of Alzheimer's. And we're going to talk a little bit about how this sorry state of affairs came to be, resulting in 15% of the population dies of Alzheimer's.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot. Of course, number one is still heart disease.
Yeah.
That's still star of the department.
Mm-hmm.
But Alzheimer's, not good, 15%.
And aren't there 9 million deaths attributed to the air, water, and the soil?
That's right, 9 million deaths worldwide due to pollution alone. And Dr. Skoma, when we looked at it, we talked about the air, we talked about the water, we talked about the food, we talked about the environment, we talked about artificial sugars. Why don't you start out on the air?
All right, so I started getting interested in this a couple of years ago when I read a couple of topics. And one of the things that interested me is this thing called chemtrails. These are the white streaks that we see in the sky, typically following a jet. Now,
The jet airliners.
yeah, you
Okay.
know, so you could have the exhaust from the jet that makes water crystals in the air.
Right.
But what they're finding out is that they're finding chemicals now that are being sprayed intentionally in the air to do what's called geochemical engineering.
Geochemical engineering?
Yep, or weather modification.
Oh, weather. Okay, weather modification.
So they want to change the weather. Let's say if it's a drought in one area, they want to seed the clouds to get it to rain,
Okay.
But unfortunately, one of the products that they're using is the cold ash from when you burn coal. You get the coal ash.
Coal ash.
C-O-A-L.
From a coal burning plant.
Right.
Okay.
And what they've done is they being whoever's flying these jets, is to make it into an aerosol spray. So they're spraying this coal ash out into the troposphere.
Troposphere?
Troposphere. Yep. We're way up there.
Wow.
And what this coal ash acts as a nanoparticle, very small particle, that can get through our skin, to our nose, into our eyes, in our mouth, and it mimics hormones. And then passes by way of our protective cell membranes
Mhm.
into our cells, mutating the cells.
So this coal ash,
Ash,
nanoparticle, penetrates into us, acts as a hormone disrupting chemical.
right?
Doesn't coal have heavy metals, toxins like mercury, cadmium, boron? I mean, there's a lot of bad things in coal, so we're getting all of that as well.
Right. You're getting, along with that, you're getting strontium and cadmium, what you had said. These are toxic chemicals.
My favorite is mercury.
Mercury's, yeah, you can
Mercury, there's
throw it on
not-
the floor and it gels around.
Yeah.
You know, you can put it in your mouth as a
Mhm.
filling.
Dentists do that all the time.
Yeah, they do.
You know, there's not one safe molecule of mercury, but boy, I guess it's safe to put it in your mouth.
Oh, yeah. Do you know once they take it out, it's now considered a toxic chemical?
Sure. It has to be disposed of
Special devices.
in a special way, but
They
when
can
it's in
stick it
your mouth,
Yeah, it's okay.
that's okay.
Yeah. I never understood that.
No, that doesn't make sense.
It also contains low-dose radioisotopes.
Oh, that sounds delightful.
So it's radioactive isotopes, and it's even more toxic than nuclear waste.
Oh, great. So here's the deal. We're breathing this in whether we like it or not, is what you're saying.
Right.
How do we mitigate that? How do we, besides not breathing, that's rather harsh,
Right.
how do we get some of those chemicals out of us?
Well, one of the things you could do is not allow it to remain into your cell.
Okay,
So we recommend eating non-GMO food.
okay.
You know, we
Sure,
talk about
Sure, we're
drinking.
talking about that.
Yep, clean water.
Clean water.
Have a strong immune system. I found something called zeolite, Zeolite,
Mhm.
in carbon 60,
Mm-hmm.
which is a liquid, and both of them act as think of it as like Pac-Man eating up these heavy
Okay,
metals and getting rid of
okay.
them. You know, get them out of the body.
And we also know that high fiber, high plant-based diets are beneficial in getting rid of toxins.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
that's really a lifestyle
Yeah.
option.
Yeah. Which is what we talk about in Taming Your Flame.
Right.
Also, when they go shopping, to look on that sticky label of the fruits and vegetables, if you don't see the number 9, as we discussed in our lecture, just don't eat it.
Just don't eat
Don't
it.
buy that product.
So the number 9 is the clean
Right.
produce.
As the first digit on the 4-digit code. that
Right,
don't
and you
see.
usually see 4, and that's your conventional pesticide, herbicide,
Right.
run-of-the-mill.
Fruit and veggie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But look for number 9.
Yep. The next thing is our water. Do you want to handle that one?
Well, what's interesting about water, we have a lot of chemicals added to our water.
Yes.
Fluorine for dental caries,
Mm-hmm.
chlorine as a disinfectant.
Mm-hmm.
But these are toxic chemicals as well. They also compete with a very important mineral called iodine.
What does that do?
Well, that's got a little part to play with a small organ called the thyroid.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah. So thyroid's it's a small organ, but it's a big actor.
Okay.
In fact, I don't think there's any cell in the body that does not have thyroid receptors. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
All cells react to thyroid. So the chlorine, the fluorine, these are toxic chemicals. And just ask the good people up in Flint, Michigan about lead in the water.
Yep.
So again, now we have toxic chemicals in the air. Now we have toxic chemicals in the water.
Mhm.
What do we do about the water, Dr. Skoma?
Well, I recommend down here in Florida, in my town, that you could buy what's called alkaline water.
Mm-hmm.
It's already in a gallon,
Right?
and pH is balanced, and so I recommend that to my patients.
Okay. Okay, alkaline water. But what if you're on Social Security and you don't have a lot of money, Dr. Skoma?
Well, there are ways to make it yourself, but you'd have to use a lot of lemons and using sodium bicarbonate.
Uh-huh.
There's a whole procedure But I had a couple of patients do it. It just didn't come out. Didn't taste good.
But lemons or limes to make the water more alkaline is certainly
Right.
something they could do at home.
But you'd have to squeeze volumes of lemon juice or lime juice to get that reaction. So you can do it, but it's going to be time consuming.
Well, we hit two big ones. Air, we breathe all the time.
Yep.
Water, we drink not all the time, but quite a bit. Let's move on to food then.
Yeah, food is my thing, and I got you interested in it, is the GMO,
The GM.
genetically modified organism.
Yep.
So this company called Monsanto, a couple of years ago, came out with these seeds that they wanted to grow so they would be resistant to insect destruction.
Genetically modified organisms.
Correct.
GMO.
GMO.
Okay.
And what happened was that they found out now when you eat that tomato or fruit or whatever, it acts like an antibiotic in your gut and it kills your good bacteria.
Great.
So when you have
Great.
good bacteria getting killed, what happens? Bad bacteria take its place.
They proliferate, they're not held in check.
Yep.
So toxic chemicals go hand in hand with bad bacteria.
Right. And then, as you know, and we talk about it again in Taming Your Flame lessons, these bacteria crawl out of your intestinal tract, up a nerve that's called the vagus nerve that starts in the brain. It's one of the cranial nerves. And it crawls out all the way to the brain. So once it gets up in there, it may cause MS, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, autism, and depression.
So some of the studies we came upon make those correlations.
Correct.
And the correlations are so strong that it begs the question, are these really causative? But you can't really say one-to-one, this causes that, but the correlations are so strong with Alzheimer's, cognitive decline, and this toxic chemical load, it's hard not to connect the dots.
Right. As a matter of fact, there was a study that just came out, I read, where they're saying that if a certain type of bacteria in the gut diminishes, that you're going to get lupus. So they are directly correlating lupus to a change of the gut bacteria.
It's fascinating research. I mean, the different colonies in our gut, the good guys and the bad guys, we have way more good guys, but they're finding different ratios and percentages are correlating really well with the absence of disease or a state of disease.
Yeah.
So it just it shows to go you in a sense that you should eat for your microbiome, not necessarily your comfort food.
Right. So once again, we recommend non-GMO food.
Right.
Look for that sticky 9 on the label. In our lessons, Taming Your Flame, we have pictures that show the sticky label.
Right. Right.
So what to look for, so they can find it on the.
And on that food topic, you're a strong supporter of natural sugar, not the artificial sugar. Why don't you just bring our listeners up to speed on the artificial sugar?
Well, more and more artificial sugars are being used, and there too they're seeing a direct relationship of killing good bacteria and causing the dementia, the Alzheimer's, the MS, the Parkinson's, and all those other diseases that we mentioned, directly correlated to these artificial sugars.
So they're paralleling each other in their incidence, if you will.
Yes.
So we've looked at air,
Right.
we've looked at water, we've looked at food, our environment, artificial sugars, artificial sugars. What about the environment? Let's touch on that, because you've been doing some research on the electrocurrent and microwave currents.
Right. So if you drive around wherever you are in the country, you're seeing these big cell towers going up.
Correct.
And they're spewing out microwave. and millimeter waves. And these electrical waves that are coming out, the research is showing, there was a doctor, a PhD doctor, Martin Paul, P-A-L-L, and he wrote a paper, and it was entitled Microwave Great Risk for the EU, US, and International Health. Compelling evidence for 8 distinct types of great harm caused by EMF on the body. And another article published in the Journal of Cellular and Molecular Medicine that showed that it affects our voltage-gated calcium cell channels.
Wait. Say that again.
The voltage-gated calcium channels, or VGCC.
Wow.
I know.
Dr. Skoma.
I like saying that.
That's impressive.
So you're going to ask me what it does?
Well, I'm still confused. In other words, that's going to allow entrance, ingress, and egress to the cell.
Right. So it's the gate, the door that opens and closes using voltage to allow stuff to get out of the cell and stuff to come into the cell.
So these microwave currents and radiation mess around those gates.
Yep.
Okay.
And some of the things that they found was that you're going to see a rapid and irreversible crash in the human reproduction. So it increases sterility. Yep. It also affects the collective brain function of the society where these micro waves are being used.
So in other words, it's dumbing us down?
Yes.
It's dumbing us up. We're getting dumber?
We're becoming dumber,
Oh boy.
Yeah. It causes an early onset of Alzheimer's dementia.
Oh, great.
It increases autism and ADHD in the masses.
Wow.
Yep. You're getting massive deterioration of the gene pool because it affects the DNA. So it's affecting the sperm and egg DNA. So there you're going to get children that maybe come up with more neurological problems.
And hormone disrupting chemicals, as if we don't have enough of that already.
Yeah. It's affecting, causing sudden cardiac deaths in all ages. And the one that I found here is increased aggressive behavior.
Wow.
Yeah, so people are becoming more aggressive because of these microwaves that are being spewed out there into the, into the air.
Wow.
Yeah. So the solution is to find devices. There are companies out there that you can buy, let's say a shield that you put on your cell phone.
Right.
Or a shield that you put on your screen so you don't get the EMF.
Right.
Or you can plug into your wall to decrease dirty electricity.
Well, I'm interested in that. Perhaps we can run down some of these companies and get them on our website and have our listeners and our viewers connect with those companies to protect themselves from that radiation.
Oh yeah, we can look into that, and then we can report back with another, maybe like a little informational get together. So that's the 5 things that you and I came up with as far as mental decline. Now you like to talk about that as far as chemicals. There's like 250 pounds of chemicals dumped into the environment
per man, woman, and child.
Wow.
74 billion pounds daily. This is a study out of, I think, the American College of Pediatricians. Children doctors.
Yeah.
You do the math, it's 250 pounds of toxic chemicals a day. What's so interesting to me in a rather draconian sense is that these chemicals are invisible. We don't see them, so out of sight, out of mind. But that used to be the case that we discussed in times gone by with viruses and bacteria. Now that we have a microscope, we can see that these viruses and bacteria are not invisible. They do exist, and they can cause trouble. Our current viral pandemic.
Yeah.
And so just because you don't see these chemicals in the air you breathe, in the water you drink, in the food you ingest, doesn't mean they aren't there. They are there.
Mm-hmm.
And they are causing troubles. And so I guess it really behooves our listeners, I guess I'm going to plug our class now,
Right.
to take Taming Your Flame, the class, the 5 classes. $49.99, are you kidding me? That's less than $50, Dr. Skoma.
Yeah, and that's tamingyourflame.com to get to the website. And you and I both feel we did a good job in explaining and
Foremost expert in the world on the FLC disorder. Not going to tell you what it is. It's a secret.
secret.
You'll have to go.
Now, tell me about neoepitopes.
Well, that's an interesting, just looking into the biochemistry behind how these chemicals work, because some people would say, well, they're invisible, they come in and they go out. It's not a problem. Big problem, big mistake. Why? Because these chemicals come in, they bind to our tissue, to our proteins. It's called an epitope. You don't need to remember that word. And forming a new foreign material, a new epitope, a neo-epitope, if you will. And what happens then? Well, now it isn't just our thyroid tissue anymore, or it isn't just our blood protein tissue anymore, albumin. No, it's connected with a chemical. Now the body identifies that as foreign, and it sets up an immune response.
Oh, so that's where you get the autoimmune disease.
Autoimmune, exactly, because that chemical connects with your thyroid, for instance.
Okay.
Your body attacks it because it's not thyroid anymore, is it? No, it's a new thyroid tissue that your body doesn't recognize because it's got this foreign toxic chemical connected to it.
Mm-hmm.
It attacks it, destroys it. Now we get thyroid tissue collateral damage, and
Sure.
off we are to the races.
Mm-hmm.
Autoimmunity is on the rise, and these toxic chemicals will be in the news for decades to come, just like the viruses, just like the bacteria that didn't exist. Well, they do exist. Take the class, get educated.
Now, aren't they finding when they take the blood from the umbilical cords that it's loaded with chemicals? It was like 200 and something chemicals, you said?
Yes, I mean, so this is newborn blood,
Yeah.
and glyphosate is in there from Santo. Yeah, these toxic chemicals are there since World War I, World War II. These chemical companies that were in business to gas people, well, they didn't go out of business. Now they make herbicides, pesticides, Roundup. That's the glyphosate.
Mm-hmm.
A huge settlement against Monsanto and Bayer for glyphosate. Billions. Well, yeah, it's causing problems.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Causing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it attacks your lymph nodes, which is part of your immune system.
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
And I had 2 patients come down with lymphoma,
Yeah.
and one of them didn't use Roundup.
Well, it's just like the tobacco companies. Please. Oh, it's fine. Tobacco won't hurt you. Well, yeah. Where did that end up? Well, same thing will happen with these toxic chemicals.
Mhm.
It'll come out. They knew about it. They're just going to spray it on there anyway because they want to make a buck. And we're simply saying, get your food with a number 9 on it.
Mm-hmm.
Eat a more plant-based, high-fiber, clean water. Try to get clean air. That's hard to do if you live in
Flint,
someplace.
Michigan.
Yeah.
Love Canal up in Jersey.
Love Canal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ground Zero, 9/11.
Yeah, that's right. All
The Gulf War.
that came out, yeah.
So we can take steps. You can be proactive. But understand that these toxic chemicals do exist, and you can do something about them.
And that again is why you and I came up with the class, because we felt that chronic inflammation is what leads every one of us down to this
Right.
avenue of sickness.
Oh yeah, obesity, diabetes, cancer, autoimmune, Alzheimer's, on and on and on. All those things are exponentially going through the roof, as is our exposure to these toxic chemicals.
Yeah, yeah. So in closing, we ask you to take the class. We know you'll like it. Tell other people. Check out our YouTube channel, Taming Your Flame. Like us on that.
Like us.
You can also go to Taming Your Flame, and we put a 5-minute introduction of the class
Yeah. Do that.
on the YouTube.
On the YouTube. Taming Your Flame YouTube. Do that 5-minute intro. Actually, 4 minutes and 54 seconds.
Yeah.
And you'll have a good synopsis.
Yeah, so you can see what it is, what it looks like, and hopefully like it. Pass it on, tell everyone else. And we look forward to coming back and talking on another subject soon.
We'll be hanging out with you for a long time.
And detoxify yourself.
That's right. Glyphosate is in there from Monsanto. Yeah, these toxic chemicals are there since World War I, World War II. These chemical companies that were in business to gas people, well, they didn't go out of business. Now they make herbicides, pesticides, Roundup. That's the glyphosate.
Mm-hmm.
A huge settlement against Monsanto and Bayer for glyphosate. Billions. Well, yeah, it's causing problems. So,
Causing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it attacks your lymph nodes, which is part of your immune system.
that's right. That's right. That's right. That's right.
And I had 2 patients come down with lymphoma,
Yeah.
and one of them did use Roundup.
Well, it's just like the tobacco companies. Please. Oh, it's fine. Tobacco won't hurt you. Well, yeah. Where did that end up? Well, same thing will happen with these toxic chemicals. It'll come out. They knew about it. They're just going to spray it on there anyway because they want to make a buck. And we're simply saying, get your food with a number 9 on it. Eat a more plant-based, high-fiber, clean water. Try to get clean air. That's hard to do if you live in
Michigan.
Yeah.
Love Canal up in Jersey.
Love Canal. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Ground Zero, 9/11.
Yeah, that's right. All
The Gulf War.
that came out, yeah.
So we can take steps. You can be proactive. But understand that these toxic chemicals do exist and you can do something about them.
And that again is why you and I came up with the class, because we felt that chronic inflammation is what leads every one of us down to this
Right.
avenue of sickness.
Oh yeah, obesity, diabetes, cancer, autoimmune, Alzheimer's, on and on and on. All those things are exponentially going through the roof, as is our exposure to these toxic chemicals.
Yeah. So in closing, we ask you to take the class. We know you'll like it. Tell other people. Check out our YouTube channel, Taming Your Flame. Like us on that.
Like us.
You can also go to Taming Your Flame, and we put a 5-minute introduction of the class
Yeah. Do that.
on the YouTube.
On the YouTube. Taming Your Flame YouTube. Do that 5-minute intro. Actually, 4 minutes and 54 seconds.
Yeah.
And you'll have a good synopsis.
Yeah, so you can see what it is, what it looks like, and hopefully like it. Pass it on, tell everyone else. And we look forward to coming back and talking on another subject soon.
We'll be hanging out with you for a long time.
And detoxify yourself.
That's right. Talk to you.